Hello everybody! Welcome to another demo video. Today we are going to be making flour tortillas. These are going to be a super simple item to make with only 5 ingredients. We are opting for a flour tortilla today, which is kind of the Americanized version of it. In traditional in Mexican cuisine, they would usually make this with corn flour called mesa. So our 5 ingredients that we're going to be using today are going to be the following. There's me figuring out my sweatshirt matches my nail polish. But we are going to be using 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a cup of warm water. You want that to be warm. It's going to make things a little bit easier to incorporate. We've got 1.5 teaspoons baking soda and 1 teaspoon salt. I am using 3 tablespoons of lard today. I rendered my own lard from bacon fat. Any kind of liquid fat will do, so I recommend vegetable oil. That'll be the best. That'll give you a really great outcome, especially if you are vegetarian. So here we go. We're going to start by whisking all of our dry ingredients together. And I definitely recommend using a whisk and just really fully incorporate that until it looks smooth and you can't see any chunks of any of your ingredients. Next, we are going to be adding in our lard. So add in that 3 tablespoons of lard, and we're going to just be incorporating that in with our fingers, folding it over itself and then kind of rubbing it between your fingers. If you really don't like doing this, you can use a pastry blender or 2 forks, but this is going to be the easiest way to do it and the fastest way. And you want to keep going until your mixture resembles cornmeal, like this. So a little bit heavier than an all-purpose flour, but it's not going to be a dough yet. How we're going to make our dough is by making a well in the center and then pouring in our warm water. Again, we're going to be using our hands. It's just going to be a lot easier than using a spoon today. And we're doing this because we're not going to be able to fully incorporate the dough in the bowl. Rather, when most of it is incorporated and it starts to form a shaggy dough, we're going to turn it out onto our work surface, and because there's still a lot of flour left in the bottom of the bowl, make sure to scrape off all of the flour off the bottom of the bowl. You don't need to flour your work surface because we are working to add in all of that, all of those dry ingredients into the dough. So you want to knead until your dough is smooth and elastic. I probably kneaded my dough for about 5 minutes, and you all should be familiar with how to knead, but if you want a quick refresher, here's a little bit of a time lapse of me kneading my dough. Using the stacked hands works really well to get an even amount of pressure, and you're going to mostly use the heel of your hand to push and pull until that dough is again, as I said before, smooth and elastic. I'll give you a little view of what the finished dough will look like. So there it is. It's pretty smooth. I probably could have kneaded it for a little bit longer, but I didn't need to worry about it that so much. So before we go on to the next step, I realized I forgot to record a clip of this, but you need to let this sit on your countertop for about 10 minutes to let the flavors develop and give a chance for the gluten to develop a little bit. So after that 10-minute rest time, we are going to divide our dough into equal pieces. I divided my dough into 16 equal-sized pieces that's going to be a pretty small tortilla, about 6 inches. So that was 16 pieces for 6-inch tortillas, and then roll each piece into a ball and let that sit. So the way we are going to be shaping our tortillas is taking that ball and kind of squishing it down with our hand to create a small disc, and using a rolling pin, flatten that out until it is 1/8 of an inch thick. A pro tip for rolling out your tortillas is going to be to continually rotate it about 1/4 of a turn, and that's going to help it remain a little bit more circular. My tortillas were not perfectly circular. They're homemade, and I think that's perfectly fine. They still tasted yummy, and you can really tell they're homemade with love. So finish rolling out, and then we're going to get to cooking them. So you want your pan absolutely piping hot. I let it heat up on a high heat and then turned it down to like a medium-high heat, and then just toss that tortilla right on there and let it cook on each side for only about 30 seconds. You want it to get really, really bubbly, as you can see mine is going to do. And then once it is as bubbly as you think it is appropriate, flip that guy over and cook for another few seconds on the other side. You want to get some good char marks going there. That's going to give you that nice flavor. And after you make the first 2 or so, you'll definitely get the hang of how long each side should cook for, because you guys have all seen tortillas and all know what they should look like. So here's my stack of tortillas. They turned out super great. I really love the way they turned out. I love the flavor. I love the size of them. And I use them to just make some lunches. I'd like to see you guys try and fill them up either with some traditional fillings or some non-traditional fillings. And I can't wait to see what you guys come up with and how your tortillas turn out. Enjoy!